Have you ever stood in your kitchen, picked up a carton of milk, looked at the expiration date, and said to yourself, well, I guess today's the day you become dangerous. So you sniff and stare at it, and sniff it again. Then you slowly pour it down the sink while silently apologizing to your bank account. We've all done it. But here's the question. Do foods really become unsafe the very second the clock strikes midnight on the expiration date? Does a yogurt suddenly wake up and decide, today's the day I become evil? Do crackers hold a tiny meeting and announce, gentlemen, we've officially expired? As amusing as that sounds, the truth is far more surprising. The surprising part isn't that almost every package has a date on it. It's what that date is actually trying to tell you. And the answer might completely change the way you think about the food in your kitchen. Welcome to Past in Plain Sight. Today, we're uncovering the fascinating truth about expiration dates and why they're probably not what you think. We first have to travel back several decades to understand those little dates. Believe it or not, there was a time when most packaged foods didn't have date labels. People relied on common sense. They looked, smelled, and they tasted. If the bread had grown enough fur to qualify as a family pet, it was time to let it go. As supermarkets became larger and food traveled farther from farms to stores, manufacturers faced a new challenge. Customers wanted to know how fresh their food was. Retailers wanted an easier way to rotate stock. So companies began printing dates on packaging. At first, many of these dates weren't even meant for shoppers. They were mainly used by store employees, a simple code that quietly said, sell this one first. Simple enough. But then something unexpected happened. Shoppers started noticing the dates too. And naturally, everyone assumed they all meant exactly the same thing. That's where the confusion began. Today, there are several different kinds of date labels, and they don't all mean the same thing. Let's start with the most common one, best before. Despite what it sounds like, this usually isn't a safety deadline. It's the manufacturer's estimate of when the product will be at its very best quality. The cereal may become slightly less crunchy afterward. The cookies might lose a little freshness. The chips may not be quite as crisp, but that doesn't automatically mean they're unsafe to eat. Think of it like watching your favorite movie. It's probably best on a giant cinema screen. Watching it at home is still perfectly enjoyable. Now here's another one, use by. This label is much more important. It's often used on highly perishable foods such as fresh meat, ready-to-eat salads, and dairy products. These dates are generally intended to relate to food safety when the product has been stored correctly. Ignoring a use-by date isn't the same as ignoring a best-before date. One is about quality. The other may involve safety. Knowing the difference matters. Then there's sell-by. Here's something many people don't realize. This date is mostly for stores. It tells retailers how long to display the product for sale. It doesn't automatically tell consumers when the food becomes unsafe. In fact, many foods remain perfectly usable after the sell-by date if they've been stored properly. It's basically the food industry's way of telling supermarkets, please stop introducing customers to this yogurt. Now here's where things get really interesting. Food doesn't own a calendar. Bacteria can't read. Mold doesn't check the date before deciding whether to grow. Food spoils because of temperature, moisture, contamination, and time, not because a printed number suddenly demands. If milk has been left in a hot car all afternoon, it doesn't magically stay fresh because tomorrow's date says it should. Likewise, properly frozen food can often remain safe far beyond the printed date, although its quality may gradually decline. Physics doesn't negotiate with packaging. Now here's a statistic that might surprise you. Millions of tons of perfectly edible food are discarded every year simply because people misunderstand date labels. That's not just bad for household budgets. It's also a major source of unnecessary food waste. Imagine buying a perfectly good loaf of bread, then throwing it away because yesterday's calendar page made you nervous. Your wallet is quietly crying. Of course, this doesn't mean you should ignore every date and start eating mystery yogurt from 3 summers ago. If food smells bad and looks unusual, or the packaging is swollen or leaking, trust your senses and follow food safety guidance. Your stomach has enough adventures already. It doesn't need surprise episodes. The key is understanding what the label is actually trying to tell you. Some dates are about quality. Some are about inventory. Some relate more closely to safety. They're not all speaking the same language. As it turns out, food doesn't expire by the calendar, it expires by chemistry. Sometimes the most important thing on the package isn't the date, it's knowing what the date actually means. And the real expiration date wasn't on the package, it was on one of the biggest food myths we've all believed. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to Past in Plain Sight, and join us next time as we reveal another fascinating piece of history. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.